Is your good friend Raf Esparza. I am happy to be coming to you on this wonderful Monday afternoon. Here it is Best Coast time 108. We have a hell of a show for you guys. I would like to preface it with this. So I think you guys know what's going on in the world. I think you know that there's a lot of political discourse that's happening. There's a lot of people who are very angry about the situation with the coronavirus, and rightfully so. But it's been mine and a few others' interpretation that a lot of that talk has been fairly negative. And as a result of it, we know there are a lot of gym owners who are trying to do the right things or who feel conflicted about ways to go forward in this coronavirus. So that's why we are starting a new video interview series. We're hashtagging it Save Jiu-Jitsu Gyms. We're hoping that we can create something constructive rather than just engaging in flame wars with people who have a lot of time on their hands. If I'm being honest, I sometimes look down at some of these things and I'm like, how much time did these people spend? So we hope that you guys want to be a part of that. If you are so interested in having an instructor appear on one of those future episodes, please just get a hold of me. We're going to put up the website or the link to it a little bit later. But in the meantime, today we have a true gent. I know this guy as somebody who owns an amazing gym, but I had a wonderful opportunity to meet him when I went out to go cover EBI out in the Tejas. And him and his crew could not have been cooler. And I have always wanted to talk with this guy. And I recently saw that, he's been updating his students and he has been close in the mean terms since all of this began. And I thought today it'd be great to have a discussion with the head honcho of the Dark Clan, Derrick Garza. Derrick, how you doing, sir?
What's up, man? How you doing, bro?
Not too bad, man. It has been a while since I've seen you, but it is good to see you.
It's good to see you too, man. I see you doing all the positive things, all the funny comedic things, and I like it, man. It's good.
Sometimes they're not always positive and funny. Sometimes I got to pick one or the other, but I appreciate the sentiment of that. Dude, you know what's so great is I've told people so much about the beer jitsu experience that I had there. I just thought it was such a wonderful display of y'all's community and what makes you guys so great. Could you describe what that event was like to people who may not be familiar with it?
Yeah, man. So we had this gym that was a really nice gym. It was kind of a hub in Austin, and it closed down really abruptly. We were left without a gym, and a lot of people were, looking for a place to train and didn't have anything or anywhere to go to. We could have gone to other gyms, but they really liked the environment that we had. So I had a friend that was working at a local brewery, Zilker Brewing, and he suggested that we use their back room or the back facility to do something. And I wasn't sure if people were going to come. I mean, it's not the ideal situation. Essentially, we're in a storage room, pretty big storage room, but a storage room nonetheless. So we put some mats down, and with the help of or my experience in graphic design and stuff, kind of put something really polished looking together, and it was a tremendous hit, man. I mean, had a lot of people that were not affiliated with it reach out and want to kind of get a taste of that or a piece of that, and really, man, it brought people together. And the premise was an open mat, no affiliation, of course, and there was beer involved. So we called it Brew Jitsu, Dark Clan Brew Jitsu, and yeah, man, it was a success, man. It was really from having no job, like all of a sudden, to this was something that was kind of helping me sustain and allow me to transition into this gym that I own now, Dark Clan Fight Lab.
I remember you and some of the guys when I talked about this place. I kept being like, I don't want to leave this specific brewery. Like, I get this is a special event and that it's not always what should go on, but you guys were like, hey, we're in the middle of getting an actual gym here. And I was like, why would you do that? Don't ever leave this place. If you can stay where there's beer and jiu-jitsu, I don't think anybody would want to leave.
Yeah, man, they later on, a few months after this, I think my gym was ready to open. They put a new refrigerating unit in there, man. So it went from like big open space to like just narrow passages where dollies could get in. So there's other groups that kind of picked up on that action and had different names and different offshoots. But we were, I think, one of the first ones to kind of do that. So I was really, really proud of the work of the community and how it was brought together. And I think, it felt like it was a trend-setting event.
It was, I mean, honestly, dude, I just really, it's so hard to replicate that vibe and that feeling, but you only get a certain amount of time when you go to visit places and you're doing coverage. And I really do try to make it a thing to go train with folks there, to get to know people. And sometimes you have time, sometimes you don't, but I like really wanted to go. And once I heard there was a beer jitsu thing, I was like, well, I'm going.
How'd you hear about it anyway?
I think somebody reached out to me. I think I put up a status that said, hey, Texas, where am I training when I'm out? And I think a couple people messaged me. And then I think even more impressively, when I arrived, somebody paid for me. Oh, nice. And I was astounded by that. And normally I would wave that off and be like, no. But they caught me right as I had just paid $30 to go and park somewhere at that facility, because everybody knew the like street parking.
Yeah.
And that went pretty quick. And the only parking I could find when I got there was the actual inside parking. I was like, oh, cool. How much is this? I'm from LA. I know how parking goes.
Yeah. And
they're like, sir, it'll be $30. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? So by the time I walk in, and I believe it's Jorge, if we would, who ended up paying for me, who is a true gent in his own kind. But even with or without that to me just showed it was going to be a different experience. It wasn't going to be quite like other things that I had experienced. But yeah, the fact that someone welcomed me, and I would normally be like, don't pay for me, it's fine. I literally put down $30 and I was like, you can pay for me. I'm okay this time.
Thanks, man.
I'll allow it.
Yeah, I think it was a really, really special thing, man. Because I mean, the way that I looked at it, it was like, we're in a city that's really sought after from a lot of people in the nation. And to be kind of at the tip of the spear, people wanted to come in and you didn't have to be part of any particular academy. You just be a good person, be a nice person to each other. And so it was bringing so many different styles and approaches to kind of one place in a really popular city. And so it was, it felt really like a beautiful and unique thing.
So I saw you guys out in, was that 2017, I think? 2016, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So that means that your gym's been open for about 3-4 years, yeah?
So I signed, so we actually, the old gym that we were at closed in August of 2017, signed a lease, and it was pushed back a couple of months because that's what they want. The world wants that. They want you to really know that you're getting something special, so you have to wait for it. We signed a lease January, opened up in March. So I've been open since March of 2018 in my own facility.
Okay, great. Let me ask this. I've always wondered this. I have ideas. I have possibilities as to how did you guys come up with the name Dark Clan?
So when I was competing, so kind of back when I was like 2002, the whole Charlie Murphy, Rick James, Dave Chappelle skit came out. So from Corpus Christi, and everybody's always kind of bagging on each other. I mean, you and your homies, like, and so apparently I'm one of the darker complexion individuals in the jiu-jitsu community for whatever reason. And so it was a funny thing. They started calling me Darkness. And so it started off kind of like as a rib and turned into a term of endearment, man. So like all my friends would just call me that. And it kind of, I don't know, it kind of blew up. People would just like, they know me as that, even to the effect that I would go places, tournaments, and people would be like, what's up, Darkness? I'd be like, I don't know who that is. And so I'm a black belt, and I wanted to do something because before I had this school, before I was working at the old gym, I was at Paragon, which is Paragon black belt. But I thought, man, it would be a beautiful thing though in my academy, but like, look into it. I'm like, so expensive. So the next best thing was to like, let me make a gi company. And so I really wanted to be like in the vein of like the samurai. So I knew they had like clans. And so I went through several names that just kind of like brainstorming, and it was like Kimura clan, like just like ideas that were kind of generic. And so I wanted to do something. I was like, well, what if I do something off the play of my name or my nickname? And it was like Dark Clan. And I was like, man, people are really going to take the word clan and go the wrong direction with it. But I was like, all right, whatever, man. Like, I don't think it'll ever be anything. Made some shirts and people really jumped on it, man. So like from top to bottom, designing the logo, coming up with the name, the tagline, everything that I've ever designed, it was like just from my brain. So people were just like, they jumped behind it, man. And so this thing started in the bedroom of my friend's house when I was living with them, became this really snowballed thing, and people were all about it. So when closed down, people were like, are you going to call it Derrick Garza Jiu-Jitsu? And I really wanted to do something that wasn't just a focus on me, because I didn't feel like I could have done this by myself. So I felt like the natural progression was Dark Clan. And, people love the name.
Absolutely, dude. The first time I walked around and I saw people saying like, oh yeah, this is his brand's Dark Clan. I couldn't help but think like, yo, this sounds like a great Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles like side feel, because I was like, oh, you get a real quick sense of, how they bond. Like, I guess one of the weird parts about being a host is sometimes you feel like a little bit of an ethnographer when you go do these visits. Is you get a certain amount of time, and then you get a sense of, oh, this is how they are, and you don't know them forever, but in that moment. And you guys struck out to me very quickly. Like, the people that you brought there were so nice. The people that you there were so respectful and gave great roles and were really, really nice. So that to me always stuck out. And I was like, it's a pretty good branding to have if your branding is just being a clan.
Yeah, man, I really felt like the thing that I got from martial arts was the camaraderie. I know a lot of people put emphasis and focus on like tournament results and really making a name, but I always felt like as a competitor, I never felt like elite. I felt like solid, you know what I mean? But I just never had the goal to like chase medals or whatever. But like I knew that the martial arts had done so much for me, like personally or internally. So I was like, I wanted people to feel that they could do more than just compete. They could be a part of something. You be a better human being and pass that on to people, man. So I really wanted the experience of people coming to Dark Clan or being affiliated with us to be something more positive and have a bigger window for what you're getting out of it than just you being in your prime and competing and getting those medals. I felt like we had pretty good jiu-jitsu, man, so like that's a plus, but really wanted more to focus on community aspect and having something that people can go to for years to come.
That's great. Okay. Let's transition into, you've been open for what, 3 years now. Obviously, it's not ideal to have this happening at the 3-year mark of it, but we're talking right as I'm sure you guys are celebrating your 3rd-year anniversary. You have something to address in the pandemic. So when were you guys starting to get that? Because I know that Texas now is the ability to be more open in a number of respects. Yeah. But let's take it back to about that like 3rd-year anniversary.
So in the triumph to tragedy vein that I feel like I live in, like the actual 2nd year anniversary, the actual to the day, it was like, yeah, great, this is great. I like told everybody, and then I was like, and we're gonna have to actually shut down for a few weeks. So the day of our 2-year anniversary is when I told people like this is going to be our last classes here for a while. So it was really bittersweet, man. So I think it was like March 15th, and it was like everybody else. I think it was like we weren't sure what we were going to do. Only that the community wanted us to still be around, so all right, man, we're gonna just kind of go into hiatus for a minute. It's not a, a goodbye. It's just kind of like we're gonna do as they're asking for us, so that we make from us, so that we make sure that people don't get sick. And that was kind of the immediate urgency for the whole thing.
What was the students' reaction? Because I think one of the difficulties that we're finding right now is that I think students do, for the most part, understand there is some significant issue that we need to address, but they obviously want to train. So how was the response been for you guys?
Man, I think people they're understanding, and I think that they're doing their best. But because we announced it kind of in the middle of a month, it's like people had already paid their dues, like
Yep.
most gym owners would know. So the next couple of weeks are going to be, what are we looking at? And then we kind of hit the first of the month, of the new month, and that's where it gets a little tricky for people, because you're like, man, I want to continue to support this beautiful thing, but I no longer have a job and I no longer have income coming. So I know there's been a lot of talk of, like essential things, you know what I mean? But when people have to decide, can I eat or do I continue to pay a gym that I'm not going to, man? Then, it's like some people started to pull their resources back. And so that was kind of the tough one, man. It's like, I think overwhelmingly I've had support of people to want this thing to continue and to survive. But I think also they've had to address their own immediate needs. And that doesn't always overlap with the needs of the gym.
What has been in this time? Because I'll ask this, I guess, next. But one of the things that I was going to ask you is, how have you adapted in doing it? I know for sure you're somebody who does, branding. You're a great graphic designer. You have a really good eye for things. And I was curious because I saw you doing a series called Ask a Black Belt, and I thought that was pretty dope. But what have you been doing, in terms of like with this time now that has been both designed for you and designed for the school?
So I think there's a lot of owners that are kind of in a unique position where it's not just I guess the difference is I'm not just teaching classes, but then I'm doing the operation stuff. So my day-to-day stuff when the gym was open was like front end desk work, signing people up, being the brand ambassador, teaching classes, being a manager. So all these things were roles that I had to take care of. So now I'm still having to do the customer service part. So, I mean, when people are reaching out and they're like, hey man, I can't pay or whatever, like they're not reaching out to like a customer service group or whatever. Like I'm returning those emails myself. So in addition to creating content, I'm still having to do the customer service and make sure that we're all, that I'm understanding of people's situations, and that they understand my situation as a small business as well. So I guess to answer your question in a roundabout way, continue to make content, and still take care of my customers.
Now you mentioned online resources. Has that been doing like Zooms with the kids and stuff like that, or try to do like versions of your classes that you offer online, sort of a deal?
Sort of. So in addition to doing the management stuff, like I think a lot of owners have had to go through is like doing paperwork for loans, talking to banks, setting up appointments. Crazy thing about that, man, is that like it's not as easy as it used to be, where you just like I show up at the bank, we talk. It's like you have to set appointments to go. That takes time. So everything has been such a procedure to be able to accomplish anything to continue support that it's you're just kind of spinning a lot of different plates at the same time. So while I have created content, I haven't really done the online classes just yet. Rather, I've just put out videos for techniques and stuff, and the series, the Ask a Black Belt, and that's what I'm probably going to continue to do for a while anyway.
Absolutely. I mean, like you mentioned, you're an all-stop shop, so that means most people in gyms have, somebody who's like maybe the manager of operations, and so they're taking care of that paperwork.
Yeah.
But if you're both head instructor and guy who has to go talk to some banks to secure its future, that time gets eaten up very quickly. I'm curious about this because so many people are struggling in terms of getting banks or individuals to understand this specific business. How have those talks gone in terms of getting any kind of assistance or help in this realm?
Well, so there had, I believe that the government rolled out a couple of different programs. One was the small business disaster loan.
Mhm.
And if you didn't get in early enough, you basically weren't able to apply. And so they did another round, but the problem with that was there was so many people that applied that the next round of funding went straight to the people that were already in the pipeline. Additionally, there was like the payment protection stuff, which was geared more toward keeping your employees. And so we were able to do some of that stuff, man. So, did what we could for as long as we could, man. But really, it's just being conservative now with the resources you have, making sure that the landlords are talked to and that, they're not expecting the same output that a healthy company could give. So we've had some concessions there, man, and I'm really happy about that. So I think we're good for the time being, but every little bit that gets pulled out or put back in definitely makes a difference. And so, there's definitely times now, just as on a personal level, where I deal with this stuff, where I'm looking at it, I'm just like, how are we going to get through this, man? Like if we're being honest, and so then I go, okay, well, we got to do this, we got to do that. So it's just, the landscape of this industry is changing so drastically, where if I never wanted to do an online class and all of a sudden you better learn what that is and you better do it well, in the span of like a month. So luckily I kind of dabbled with some of that stuff, man. So I'm not completely lost, but man, there's definitely people that have less experience in that realm that are probably going to have a harder time with the new normal, if you will.
I'm curious about this because you mentioned having some success in terms of talking with like your landlords and trying to be honest and earnest with them. And I know people have varying degrees of success and failure with that as a thing. Do you have advice for trying to communicate those concerns, or what did you find that they understood that maybe made it easier, or was it just that they were receptive?
I think both. I think if I was going to give advice, I would say try to get in front of it. I think that it's easy to kind of just go, okay, this is what we have now, and just kind of
Mhm.
like go from there. But I think you have to look at a bigger picture and like look further down the road. Okay, well, if you're okay now in month 2 or 3, how does 5 and 6 look, and what can you do to make sure that you have a 5 and 6? So I reached out to the landlord. He reached out to the owner, and basically, I was like, "This is what we are up against. This is what we have." And so, while I'm not actually saying free rent, I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
"What can we do? Maybe we're taking half rent, and maybe we're adding some of that to the months that we're actually at full capacity, and hopefully that can work." But as it stands right now, we're doing what we can right now, but really we're at the mercy of like what is the government gonna allow us to do? So
Mhm.
if they go, okay, well, we're gonna be able to come back into, somewhat like a quarter capacity, then we go, okay, well, this gives us a fighting chance.
Yeah.
So really we're just trying to make sure that we're putting out fires everywhere and not getting too far down the road where, we got 3 days to the end of the month and we go, we should reach out to somebody and ask now, if they would consider what we're going through. It's like, you had a lot of time to do this, man, and you really should have,
Mhm.
because, the gyms are not the only ones that are in a bind, owners, lenders, they're not getting their return back, so it's all trickling down, man. So I think there has to be understanding from different entities, but I also think that people got to get in front of it. You have to be proactive about what you're asking for.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you envision are the steps to coming back? Because again, I know in Texas, there's a push to try and get back to normalcy there. So I would say that your state, as opposed to some other states, may seem a little bit closer. But what is it really going to take for you to get back? Because I want to make sure people know this. Your gym is still closed right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think?
A cure. No, I'm just kidding, man. I don't know, man. I think it's wild that like, dude, I love jujitsu. I love it, man. But I also like being alive. And I think when people are just like, no matter what the cost, we're essential. We got to do it. Then it gets a little like, man, are you sure that's what you want to subject your clients to, your students, your friends? And so I think if we're coming back, then we have to do it in a smart way. If we're doing social distancing, maybe that's the solution for now. Then maybe we're looking at staggered schedules. Maybe you're looking at groups that you're always going to train with. Like maybe it's not going to be a full community anymore for a while at least. Maybe you're training with 5 or 6 people, and that's what it is for now. So we're just kind of taking a look at different ways to approach this. If they say, yeah, full on, just go back, well, then it's good. I mean, we can cover that because we've already covered that. We've already been doing that. But if they're like, you have to operate at 25% capacity, and okay, but we have kickboxing, we have jiu-jitsu, we have no-gi. People want to switch out. We like offer unlimited services. So how do we make this fair for people? You know what I mean? And so offering solution also gives us more challenges, you know what I mean? And so even on top of that, you're now asking people to continue to support something that they don't have full access to all the time. So really, I think while I'm not trying to sound negative at all, it's just you have to be realistic about the things that you are going to be able to offer, and then you'll have to make the considerations for like, well, I know you were charging this much money, but will you be able to do that going forward? And that people are going to deem this fair to them. So yeah, man, I'm just taking a look at different ways to approach that and still be fair and still be, just like community support, like not only from people, but from me to people as well.
Has there been a sense of community against or amongst other members of maybe your affiliation or your surrounding neighborhoods to create some kind of awareness or trying to create some kind of network? Because I find, I mean, you mentioned a few solutions that I've seen kind of floated around,
Yeah.
and I wonder, did part of that come from there, or what kind of network are you looking at that's supporting you right now?
I mean, honestly, the network usually that I have right now is just kind of like the people that I'm in touch with.
Mhm.
So we started like a Facebook group, which is like just for the members, and that essentially is like where we put out videos, but not only just like the gym videos. Like we're asking our members to give feedback, leave videos of how they're doing during this time. So in addition to just like the business side, we're trying to really foster a sense of like, hey, please don't fall into despair. I know it's
Yeah.
a crazy time, but if we can just hold still for a second and go, hey, you're not alone, then maybe we go, okay, well, we're not alone. Then we can start to have these ideas of what we can do to get back to a little normalcy. You know what I mean? So to answer your question, the people in the gym, I've reached out to a couple of the other gym owners where they're trying different things too, man. I think a lot of people are just throwing things at the wall, hoping something sticks. And I think that's how it happened at the beginning, like coming out of it. And I think now that it's kind of stabilized as far as like, this is what we're doing right now. We're sheltering in place, we're quarantining. I think now you're going to start to see some better approaches or more efficient approaches to go, okay, this is the next thing, the evolution, if you will, of how we can continue this type of business, with this type of thing. You know, I think jiu-jitsu's mixed martial arts is unique, in that we're not just weightlifting. You can go do it by yourself. So I think the beauty of it is also the challenge of it. You know, the beauty of why it's such a, it gets a hold of you is also, that closeness is also, you want to make sure that we're accounting for that stuff and making sure that people are safe. So I think we're going to have to come up, the industry as a whole is going to have to come up with some genius idea, and I don't know if it'll be from me, you know what I mean? But just some idea that really people can implement to make sure that we have these gyms we can go to, because it's a scary thing. You know what I mean? There's plenty of people out there that started these things that they don't have other jobs. This is what they've been wanting to do. This is a dream job or dream of mine since 15, 20 years ago, and now it's like just watching it bleed out, if you will. And so, people are down to help. We just have to figure out a way to do it that we're safe and we can thrive still. So I'm open to ideas.
Hey man, I got to tell you, it's that I think the more ideas we can kind of push out there, the better. One of the things that we're trying to foster a little bit is a spirit of network and community amongst a larger sense. So I think that talking about it and getting that dialogue going is, I think, starting to shape people up. I've seen some gyms start to propose some ideas as to how we come back. Again, a lot of it's still very theoretical, but I find that time that people are spending coming up with ideas for it much better spent in terms of trying to create that dialogue to getting us back.
Yeah, I think that's really beneficial to not just pose a problem, but to offer a solution, even if it's not the final solution. Just like if you're just talking about problems, well, then essentially you're just complaining. So if you offer some solution, if you raise these questions, which make you think in that direction, you never know. You're putting them out there. Like, there's a lot of smart people out there, and they can really help, even if it's minutely, to turn a situation in a different direction. And so I still have a lot of hope. I do.
It's pretty amazing. Jiu-jitsu, a lot of smart people, believe it or not. Just
I really do believe it, man. I do believe it.
let me ask this, because I don't know that somebody has asked you this, but if somebody hasn't, they should be. But what is it that you need? Like, what kind of support is it that you need? And you can be as specific or as broad as you want on it, because one of the things that I think helps that dialogue is getting to know what most of these people who have gyms, especially that involves a contact sport, are facing in their uphill battles. So what are those specific things that you are looking for that could be the difference makers for you?
I think that if people could understand that, everything helps, whether that's monetarily, maybe that's somebody reaching out and not just expecting. I think there's a lot of people that on the outside, it looks like things are normal and okay. But I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of inner turmoil with a lot of people right now, man. There's a lot of anxiety. Um, Personally, man, I don't struggle with the anxiety too much, but I definitely have this what are we gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, I want to be around for people, and I want to be around even more selfishly for myself. But you know, if everybody pulls support, at some point you go, okay, well then there's no other option here. Like, it has to, you have to pull the plug. So I think, specifically, if I was like, continue to support it as long as you could, continue to support your local gyms, not just mine, but the gyms that people go to that help them cope with everyday life. They're the ones that are at risk right now, and I think even if, if it means that the owners are having to um, pull their memberships and put them at a lower price, maybe that's the trade-off, so that people can continue to do that. And it's definitely something that I'm looking into also, man. It's just with where we kind of came into the game, it's like there was no concessions for rent, so full rent is still expected at the time. So man, it all trickles down. I think asking for people to just be patient, continue to support, and to know that it's going toward a local business is all really it can ask for. You know what I mean? Because I think that's more than generous if people continue to give donations. Um, I'm not the kind of, I always begrudgingly go, give me some money. It's just like, it's not my style. So when people are like, what do you need? I'm like, how do I say this? But, at the end of the day, man, if a business does not make money just to open the doors, keep the doors open, it won't be a business. I mean, so that's something that I'm, having to grow through myself as being a business owner, so just continued support, and just know that there's somebody at the helm of every gym really pulling for that thing to survive. And it's not an easy path, a lot of those guys are just like me. Guys or girls are just like me. This is the thing they do. And so scary time, man. It's a scary time right now. But I think we have some ingenuity. I think we genuinely have very smart people that are very determined. Uh, so I can see us definitely surviving this, man, but it's going to get scary. It's going to get scary for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. And it's okay to admit that they're scared. But again, just I say we just keep fighting, man. Keep fighting the good fight.
That's good. That's really cool, man. Well, I want to also make sure people are aware. So when we talk about support, it's not just the broad support. I know there's always specific ways that people can help you out, help your brand out. Walk us through some of those things, what it is that people can do to go ahead and help you.
People can definitely reach out and see if they want to do like donations or class packs. We started kind of floating this idea of doing virtual private sessions, which definitely are at a discounted rate. But if you're quarantined with a jiu-jitsu friend or husband or wife or girlfriend or boyfriend that'll let you beat them up a little bit, we can sit in and do Q&A, man, where I walk you through things, and it's not going to be the typical rate that the actual black belt usually charges, but more like, hey, man, we're both kind of getting this win-win. How can I help you? You're helping me. Anytime that anybody does something like that, I don't have to pull resources from the nest egg known as bank account of a business to pay myself. It's like, okay, well, that pays now for a little bit of groceries. That pays now for whatever it is, that's keeping us afloat. So I think things like that. Probably going to move some merchandise online to our website, darklingfightlab.com. And really, man, sometimes the best help, really, man, not to sound cheesy, but just like reach out as a friend and just be like, hey, man, you okay? You doing okay? Because I think when we get into these roles where we're just that, it kind of can take away the human aspect of like, actually, that business owner is a human being that has to eat, has to try, dealing with stressors and stuff. So try to see a bigger picture, really, and I think that can help a lot.
I gotta tell you guys, he's quite good at it. When I had the chance to roll with him, it was not fun.
I didn't anything. I was like, this guy has got good defense. He's not.
Well, yeah, that's nice. I have very different recollections of that role. I just remembered being like, your transitions were just so effortless that I was impressed, obviously, but I was also like, just sitting there when you're like going through it, you go, when do we get to the beer? Like midway through the roll, all I kept thinking was, I see all of the beer around me. I would like to drink that beer, except I have to deal with this right now.
Well, the mistake you made was rolling first and then going to get beer. When get there, down one because you get a couple of pints, down one, then go roll. Then that's the real roll.
Yeah, I know. I didn't drink before I rolled. That should have been 100% what I had done. Well, the difference is so many of the people there were just like, yeah, grab something, dude. Just go do that and that. I was like, I don't think you guys understand. I don't even eat before I roll because like I feel terrible having anything in my stomach.
Well, it was like 3 hours, and by the time you got out of there, I don't have to deal with you. Just like go feel terrible at home.
Well, what was it? I think the idea was to do that open mat, go home, have enough time to shower, get set, and then go to the events. And on that particular day, I remembered my sister, she came with me on this trip, and I told her I was going to go train. And she doesn't train, but I told her, I was like, if you want to come, like, obviously come. It's something cool, and I think it would be a good vibe to be around. Yeah. And she told me, she was like, listen, we have so much work. You just go. And I said, great. She saw me walk back into like our Airbnb that we had, and I was just dying. I was just looking at her like, I'm so tired. And yet we have to interview people and take photos. And
yeah, the 3 hour open mat, man. And even before, so kind of in the same vein, we were planning. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, but I had some real cool ideas we have a really big space. I think I have like just in my gym area, like 3,500 square feet mat, 5,000 square foot facility. So we have some ideas up ahead of really utilizing that. It won't be quite jiu-jitsu, but we have some kind of cool that we were going to plan for this summer, but COVID-19.
right. It's a huge sort of thing that I think we all kind of understand, where we're like, you know what? We're just not gonna this year. Especially people that I knew who had travel plans. I'm just kind of like, oh man. And especially some of these folks who are just like, yeah, I think in November I'll be doing this or that. And I'm like,
yeah, man. I think there's some crazy people out there, man. I think there's some people that just like decide in their head that we're gonna go do jiu-jitsu, and then you're like, oh, guys, please, man, don't wait for the go ahead, And
I would tell you this. I would say that to any of those folks who feel frustrated that they can't go to train, I hope they know that we are equally frustrated, and that there isn't a scaredness, there's a value. And there's a value in caring for other people. I think the disruptions that happen are, people trying to interpret data, people trying to go further than maybe their own backgrounds would allow. And it's fine to have opinions and create that dialogue. It's a little to the point where it's going to create a larger problem for us to get back than any of the virus would. So to me, it's always, okay, cool. You're not wrong. The economy has very serious ramifications. And I think that our middle ground was saying, like, if we're going to do this series where we're going to interview people, it's not going to get caught up in policies and data that people can't argue. It's going to get into what can we do on the micro level right now to help the people that just may not speak up, that may be struggling and don't know how to ask for help, and network or pull ideas, or at least get the right resources in their head. But I think the inverse of we're going to go do this right now is not, oh, well, we don't like jiu-jitsu. It's like all of us came here for a certain reason. So
right. And just to clarify, man, it's like some of the people that I see, man, like I have a lot of respect for them. Like as human beings, like some of them are friends or students or whatever. So it's not in any way like a slight. It's more that I'm just like, we're all frustrated, just as you said, and we all want to do the things that we want to do, but I would rather, if I'm being 100% honest, I would rather keep my gym closed and know that people won't potentially die or get sick than to just rush back in there because I'm thinking only in the short term. and so I want it just as bad. I really do. It's like if I were to have to defend that, I'm like, yeah, I own a gym. Like, of course I want it. I own a gym. Well, that's what happens there. But also, on the other side, I've had my nephew and my sister-in-law both come down with COVID. You know what I mean? And they're the ones that had to like isolate themselves, and me just being worried about like, wow, what if one of them does not turn in the right direction? You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
like that's hit home a little closer, um, and so I would rather just be safe than sorry. And so to those people, I would just say like, man, we're with you. We're be patient, really. You know what I mean? And there's really no forcing that opinion, because I think if you force stuff like that, then you really turn people the other way. But
Mhm.
um, I would just say, please be understanding. It affects all of us.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and do this right now. I'm going to go and, turn the floor over to you. This is your chance to just talk to your community of people who you are caring for the larger community. I just want to give you an opportunity to say what it is that you feel like saying. Like
So,
if it's, a message or insight, or, trying to specify what it is that helps you or other people, the floor is yours, sir.
um,
Oh,
first off, I just want to say to everybody that's supported, thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, I do this because not only for myself, but because I love the community that we've built. Um, if you guys want to continue to support, just follow our social media pages, and I'm sure we'll put that up at the end. But just check on each other. Just know jiu-jitsu is not going anywhere, because we can't do it right now. Doesn't mean we're not going to be able to do it eventually. It's just going to be a lesson in patience for us and from us. Um, Take care of your neighbors, man, and just know that we're all in this together. I know we've heard that a ton of times, but truly, if you look around, we're in this together. Um, so that being said, if I can help you with anything, please reach out to me. Uh, However that is, man. I love you guys. I truly love you guys. Your friend, your mine. Consider that through jiu-jitsu, and we're gonna make it. We'll be okay. I really hope.
Derek, I appreciate that, my friend. And like I said, I mean, here's the unfortunate part. We have to do it like this, but I'm looking forward to a time when we get to do one of these in the future, discussing as we normally do. You host a podcast as well.
Yeah,
You talk to people. You also you mentioned in your bio, you're like, I dabble in comedy, and I was like, yeah,
yeah. It's like we, I think, aspire artists. I'm an artist, but like, not to sound pretentious, but I think being Renaissance people, man, we have a lot of different loves. I think for me, jiu-jitsu's really been the main hub, and it's allowed me to do a lot of these things that I'm really curious about or just intrigued about. And I, by no stretch of the imagination, am a professional in any of these things, but fuck, it's fun to try. And so I want to keep doing that. So yeah, I'm gonna do it all. Bring it all my way, man. We'll take a look at it and see if it's something worth doing.
I mean, I keep doing jiu-jitsu and nobody's told me not to. So, I'm just going to do the thing that I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
man.
not going to win a championship at this, but I'm enjoying the hell out of it. So I think I understand. Well, Derek, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Believe it or not, I mean, it's very helpful. And I think it is a connecting tissue that is going to continue a great thread of individuals who are going to keep things going. So I very much appreciate your time, my man.
Man, thank you. We got to get you on my podcast at some point in the future when we're all normal, and I would love that.
Absolutely, dude. I mean, I'm more than happy to be on there. I think that you do a great job of keeping things light, and I knew when we had the time to hawk out in Texas, you were shooting different strategies and different ideas about what you do and how it's a little different. And I'd watched some of your stuff and I was like, yeah, no, you get a vibe of who you are as a person very quickly. And I think that's one of the hardest things to teach people about hosting these things, because a lot of times they just try to replicate what they think works.
Yeah.
And that is the immediate time it doesn't, because they aren't being themselves.
Yeah, man, I think you have to be a little vulnerable to do this shit. And that's okay if people don't always vibe with it, but it's real when it's real.
I mean, I tell people quite consistently, I'm like, if you want to hop off the train, totally understand. But like, know that people have hopped on and that we're not going to lose any steam if you don't join. Yeah, you can go somewhere else.
Yeah, what you do is for you. And hopefully
exactly.
You vibe with that. But dude, thank you so much, man.
No problem. Stick around for a second. I'm just going to close this out real quick, man.
Cool. Thanks, dude.
All right.
See you guys.
All right. I'm going to get out on that. All right. Well, before we sign off, we just want to kind of just go over a concept, an idea that I think could be helpful. I don't know if it will be, but if it is, great. You know, we're seeing a lot of our friends kind of go through some strife right now. And every day it seems like it's kind of getting harder to stay positive. And a lot of these gyms are facing tough financial strains. So I thought I would share like the one thing that I'm trying to do in my small way. And if it helps you, cool. If it doesn't, I don't care. But every day I'm trying right now since this pandemic to write down, 3 different places or gyms or people or instructors, and just try to do your part to either, if you can, purchase one of those products, do one of those things. If that's buying like gym time, seminar time in the future, or doing one of those things, that would be great. If you can't do those things, something as simple as even sharing their social media page, or helping to figure out if your gym needs help on the organizational side, as we learned today, which could be very, very helpful to certain gyms on that side, so that they can do the other things that help their gyms stay afloat, even better. But yeah, I feel like that's the easiest thing that you can do to still be active in our community, that while not rolling, maybe get us back to rolling sooner than later. And I promise you, it is these small versions of helping out and the consideration that you'll see that'll have the largest impacts. So that's all I got for you guys today. Very much appreciate your time. If you have instructors or friends that you would like to be featured on here, again, I'm going to put it in the link section over here underneath that way. And feel free to go and do it. It's going to be hashtag Safe Jiu-Jitsu Gyms. We're going to feature a whole bunch of instructors, try to get a good dialogue going, and make use of our time here so that the dialogue gets a little bit better rather than getting worse. That's it. My name's Raf Esparza. You watch Grappling Hour. Follow me if you want. If you don't, whatevs. But very much appreciate your guys' time here today. We look forward to seeing you back. We'll have another interview tomorrow. I believe tomorrow we have Patrick Danabidian, who is going to talk about an exciting project that he's going on. I think that is tomorrow at 3 p.m. here on Grappling Hour on Pacific time, and then 5 p.m. Central time if you are some of the folks who tuned in for Derrick. He has a project, Pat does, that is talking about the virtues of jiu-jitsu, and it is a short project on people sending in what makes jiu-jitsu special to them. That's kind of the gist of it. We'll find out more tomorrow without me butchering it. It's going to do it for us here. My name's Raf Esparza. We'll see you on the mats eventually.